At the age of 26, I was broke and desperate, and life had a way of putting me in awkward situations which I never would have imagined being in. My fridge was empty, my rent was past due, and the weight of survival was like an iron cage pressing down on my shoulders. I put in a lot of overtime as a junior assistant in a corporate office, answering phones, filing reports, running errands, and doing anything it took to keep the paycheck coming in, even if it was barely enough to keep me afloat. My boss, Mr. Jonathan, was 59 years old, sharp-minded, disciplined, and well-spoken. Despite his advanced age, he had a powerful presence and treated everyone fairly, including me, a struggling young woman trying to find my way. He noticed small details about people, like the way someone sighed after a lengthy meeting, the hesitation in their voice when they spoke, and he noticed me too. Not in an inappropriate way, but in a way that made me feel seen. He would ask, "Did you have lunch?" In order to show me that he cared, he would occasionally put an extra sandwich on my desk when he knew I hadn't. It wasn't a very elaborate gesture. After everyone had left the office one evening, I stayed behind to finish some paperwork because my eyes were burning from exhaustion. Mr. Jonathan passed by and turned around, saying, "You shouldn't stay so late, it's not safe for a young woman alone." But he seemed sincere. "I just need to finish this report." I forced a smile in return. He looked at me for a moment, then walked to his desk, took out his wallet, and placed a crisp $100 bill in front of me. "Go home, get some rest, and eat something good." I was astounded by the amount of money. Don't argue," he said, breaking into a hard but kind tone. "Consider it a bonus." I hesitated but took the bill. "Thank you, sir, that's what I like about you," he said, leaning against the desk. "You're proud, but you're struggling." "You remind me of myself when I was young. I didn't know what to say. No one had ever compared themselves to me before, especially not a successful man like him." Over the next few months, his kindness became more apparent. When my landlord threatened to evict me, he coincidentally increased my salary when I caught the flu. He sent his driver to take me to a private doctor. It was strange the way he looked after me. He never crossed the line, never made me uncomfortable, but his presence in my life grew stronger with each passing day. Then one evening, everything changed. He called me into his office just as I was about to leave. His face was unreadable, but there was a seriousness in his eyes that made my stomach tighten. I sat across from him, waiting. "I have something to say." He began folding his hands on the desk, "and I need you to listen carefully." He nodded. "You're struggling, see it, and I want to help you." His voice was steady, but there was something deeper in it, not just with money, with life. I shifted in my seat, suddenly uneasy. "I appreciate everything you've done for me, sir. Really, I do." He exhaled as if choosing his next words carefully. "Marry me." "What marry me?" he continued. "I can give you a life you've never dreamed of: security, stability, respect." The room was silent, and I blinked, sure I had misheard him. I was having trouble breathing, and my mind was racing as I tried to comprehend what was occurring. "You're young," he said, adding, "but you're drowning in a world that doesn't care about you." I shook my head, my thoughts jumbled. You're 59. Yes, and I won't act like it's unimportant, but love isn't always about age. Was that what he believed this to be? I realize this is surprising. He said, "Take your time to think. I won't pressure you, but I won't lie. I want an answer." I stood up abruptly, my hands shaking. "I need to go." He didn't stop me. "Go, but remember. The world out there is cruel. I'm offering you something real." I left his office in a daze, my heart pounding. The city streets felt colder than usual, the lights too bright, the noise too loud. I had spent my entire life clawing my way out of poverty, fighting for every inch of dignity I had, and now here was a man offering me everything on a silver platter. But at what cost? I couldn't sleep that night. Mr. Jonathan's words replayed in my mind like a haunting melody. Marry me. It was absurd, unthinkable. He was old enough to be my father. And yet beneath the shock, there was something else: temptation. The offer wasn't just about love, it was about survival, about freedom from the weight of struggle the next day at work. I avoided his gaze. I kept my head down, drowning in tasks that never seemed to end, but I could feel his presence, the silent patience with which he waited. He wasn't a man who begged, he had simply laid out his offer and given me the space to decide. Days passed, then weeks. He never brought it up again, but his actions spoke louder than words. Every time I hesitated outside the office to check my empty wallet before buying lunch, I felt his eyes on me every time I overheard coworkers talking about their weekend plans while I counted pennies for rent. I knew he saw one evening he asked me to join him for dinner. It wasn't a date, he assured me, just a conversation. I agreed more out of curiosity than anything else. He took me to an elegant restaurant, the kind I had only seen in magazines. The waiters knew his name. The service was impeccable. It was a world so different from mine that I felt like an imposter just sitting there. "I won't ask again," he said after the food arrived, "but I want to know what's stopping you." I hesitated, staring at the candle flickering between us. "You already know," I said finally. "Your older people will talk. They'll say, 'I married you for money.' People will always talk," he replied smoothly. "What matters is what you and I know." I choked up. "And what do we know that I can give you a life most people only dream of?" I had spent so much time fighting to create a life for myself that the idea of just being taken care of felt alien. In return, he asked for loyalty, respect, and a real partnership. He leaned back and watched me closely. "I won't demand love. That will come with time, but I need to know you'll stand by me as my wife." It was a carefully crafted offer. There was no desperation in his tone, no pleading. He was giving me a choice that was difficult to refuse. After that night, I considered every possible outcome. Would I grow to love him? Would I be able to live with a man I admired but didn't desire? Was security worth the cost of youth and passion? I confided in my closest friend in the hopes of getting clarity. She was blunt. "You'd be foolish to say no." Look around, everyone's settling for something still. I hesitated until one night when my landlord slipped an eviction notice under my door. That was it. The final push. I wasn't brave enough to fight against fate anymore. The next day I walked into Mr. Jonathan's office. My decision made, he looked up from his desk, waiting. "Yes," I said simply. A slow smile spread across his face, but he didn't look surprised. He had known all along that I would say yes. The wedding was small and private, no grand ceremony, no emotional vows, just a quiet exchange of rings and signatures on a marriage certificate that changed my life forever. I moved into his house, a mansion compared to the shoebox apartment I had barely afforded. I had closets full of clothes, a personal driver, the freedom to walk into any store and buy whatever I wanted, and yet I felt like a guest in my own life. He was a good husband, never unkind, never forceful. He respected my space, gave me time to adjust, but I felt like a piece of art displayed in a beautiful home, admired but never truly known. Months passed. I played the role of the devoted wife attending social events, standing beside him with a practiced smile. People whispered. Of course, the young wife and the older wealthy husband. I ignored them. I told myself I had made the right choice. But at night, lying in a bed that felt too big, surrounded by luxury, that felt hollow, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had traded one kind of emptiness for another. Years passed, and my life became a routine of quiet comfort. Mr. Jonathan was everything he promised to be, respectful, generous, and unwavering in his commitment. I wanted for nothing. I had wealth, security, and a status I had never imagined possible. People treated me differently now, with deference and admiration, but beneath the surface I felt nothing. No excitement, no passion, just a carefully maintained existence built on gratitude rather than love. I never gave him children. I told him I wasn't ready, that I wanted to focus on our life together. He never pressured me, though I knew he wished for an heir. It was easier this way. A child would have made my escape impossible. Then Darcy came back into my life. He was my past, reckless, passionate familiar. We had been young together, struggling in the same world, dreaming of a future that had never come. When I ran into him by chance at a charity gala, my heart stuttered. He looked the same, maybe a little older, a little sharper, but the fire in his eyes hadn't dimmed. He saw me not as Mrs. Jonathan, the wealthy wife of an older man, but as the girl he used to know you disappeared, he said, his voice low. One day you were just gone. I laughed lightly, though my chest ached. I didn't disappear. I just chose a different life. He studied me, seeing through the polished exterior. And is this the life you wanted? Had no answer. Started with stolen moments, coffee here, a lingering conversation there. He was. Everything my husband wasn't young, impulsive, unpredictable with him. I remembered what it felt like to be wanted, not just cherished. I told myself it was harmless, that I was only indulging in nostalgia. But deep down, I knew better. The affair began on a stormy night. I told myself I wouldn't cross the line. But when Darcy kissed me, I didn't stop him. For the first time in years. I felt alive. Guilt came later, creeping in like a slow poison. I told myself I should end it, that I owed Mr. Jonathan more than betrayal. But I didn't stop. Couldn't Darcy fed the part of me that had been starving? He made me feel young again, reckless, free. But freedom comes with a price. He hated that I belonged to another man. He wanted me for himself fully, without conditions. And so the whispers of escape began. Mr. Jonathan trusted me completely. He had signed over assets in my name, given me control over bank accounts, made me his beneficiary. He never imagined I would use it against him, but I had already chosen my path. I can't leave with nothing. I told Darcy I need security. His smile was slow, knowing then take it. It was easier than I expected. On his 65th birthday, I left without saying goodbye. Instead, I packed my bags, emptied the accounts, and vanished into the night with Darcy by my side. By the time Mr. Jonathan realized what had happened, I had a few transfers, some forged signatures, and the fortune my husband had built was now in my hands. I watched him every day, still kind and devoted, but completely unaware of the woman I had become. For a while, I convinced myself that I had the life I had chosen, but money has a way of slipping through fingers faster than expected. I was long gone, Darcy, and I started a new life far from where anyone knew our past. At first, the money made things easy, with opulent hotels, pricey dinners, impromptu trips, and finally having what I thought I wanted: freedom, passion, and a man who made me feel alive. There would be no more pretending, no more lifeless nights in a mansion that felt more like a museum. Darcy had plans, ideas of investments that would double what we had stolen. I trusted him. I let him make the decisions, sign the deals, move the money. I didn't notice how fast the numbers dwindled until it was too late. The fortune that once felt limitless became smaller with each passing month. First, Darcy was patient. Reassuring money comes and goes, he'd say, brushing off my concerns. But then the argument started. Why wasn't I happy? Why did I complain when we still had more than most people, when I suggested being more careful with spending? He laughed. What's the point of having money if we don't enjoy it? I tried to ignore the uneasy feeling growing inside me. I reminded myself why I had left, why I had risked everything. I had done this for love, for passion. I had done this for him. But slowly, I realized something terrifying. I had never really known Darcy at all. The man who once looked at me with adoration now looked at me with impatience. The excitement of our escape faded, and with it his tenderness. The first time he disappeared for a few nights, I told myself he needed space. The second time I knew better. There were other women's secret meetings, money slipping through hands that weren't mine. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He only smiled, amused. Did you think you were different? That you were special? I had left a man who worshipped me for one who barely cared if I stayed or left. Panic set in when I checked the accounts and found them almost empty. The security I had fought so hard for was gone. Darcy had taken everything, just as I had done to Mr. Jonathan. When I demanded answers, he shrugged. Money runs out, he said. You should know that better than anyone. That was the moment I saw the truth. I had betrayed a man who had only ever given me kindness for one who had never truly loved me at all. I thought about going back, apologizing, begging. But what could I say? I had burned that bridge so thoroughly that there was nothing left but ashes. The reality came to me in waves, each one heavier than the last. that I had nothing, no money, no love, no home, and for the first time in my life, I had no one to blame except myself. Mr. Jonathan had given me a life and a future, and I had thrown it away for something temporary.